Let's start with ESPN and two more wide receiver targets the Pittsburgh Steelers could have their eyes on by the trade deadline. ESPN's Dan Graziano believes that the Pittsburgh Steelers will be locked in to the trade market as the trade deadline approaches, that what they got or didn't get out of Brandon Ayuk, but what they wanted to get out of Brandon Ayuk was not enough. They're ready to keep it going. They're ready for another big name, and they have not seen enough out of Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, and certainly Van Jefferson. They tossed two names at us. One of them is DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think he needs any introduction. And the other one is Christian Kirk of the Jacksonville Jaguars, a name that I think if you went into this season was not available to the Steelers, was not a name anybody would even consider. But where we sit here right now, there are a few teams as disastrous as Jacksonville, who were supposed to be good, but few teams as disastrous as Jacksonville. And the Titans might be the only one, but I think we also saw that coming. Didn't see Jacksonville coming. Graziano believes that both of those teams will be looking to sell, and both of those teams would be looking to sell some wide receivers. Now, you can't reference anything or preference anything without talking contracts. That is the most important part of this entire puzzle. So before we start, what is Christian Kirk and what is DeAndre Hopkins contracts looking like this season?
Yeah, let's start down in Jacksonville with Christian Kirk. This season, he has a $24.2 million salary cap hit, which is tough to swallow, but not as tough to swallow as next year, where he has a 27.2 salary cap hit going into the last season of his contract there.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's DeAndre Hopkins?
That correct? Is Christian Kirk.
Oh, that is Christian Kirk. I apologize. I was looking up stats as we were talking here. All right, so a 27, he was the original. You got to remember, he was the original. Christian Kirk was the dude who started. Like, he does not get enough credit for starting the wide receiver market that is today. That was Christian Kirk. He did that in Jacksonville, signed a deal that nobody in their right mind would have signed Christian Kirk to, but he got into it. $27 million is way too much for a guy named Christian Kirk that you're looking at. I mean, just go through his seasons here. Just go through what he's done for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Missed almost all of last season, only played 12 games the year before. The year before that, his first year in Jacksonville, the first $20 million deal or whatever, 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's the only one he's ever gotten. Only time he's ever broken 1,000 yards. Now, if we were talking, $20 million for a wide receiver too, I'm all about it. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are in a good spot for it. And I think that they'd go out and they make a deal because Christian Kirk isn't going to be worth a bunch of money or a bunch of compensation. And you could probably get him for a 3rd-round draft pick and feel pretty good. Maybe a 4th-round draft pick, feel pretty good. He's 27 years old. He adds a ton of speed to an offense that loves their speed this season. But for $27 million in a year, is there dead money included in that? Can you get rid of him in a year?
No, the potential out was before this season.
That's good. I'm glad Jacksonville waited until it was too late to stick with their guy. I don't think Christian Kirk is a name in my mind that makes much sense. I think that he would if he wasn't so expensive. He would be a perfect wide receiver too for Pittsburgh. Ability to play outside and the ability to play inside. A bigger Calvin Austin, which has worked out well coming off of week 3 against the Chargers. A name that, that's what the Steelers, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the Roman Wilsons. They're looking for the Calvin Austins. They're looking for those smaller, fast guys to complement the big guy in George Pickens. And Christian Kirk would have fit the bill well. $27.5 million. No, thank you. What's DeAndre Hopkins looking like?
Yeah, you said you wanted $20 million for a wide receiver too. DeAndre Hopkins is in the final year of his current contract at $18.3 million on the salary cap hit. So he comes in under what you were hoping for a wide receiver too.
Yeah, D-Hop would be a name to consider. Now, there are pros and cons here. Okay. Obviously, anytime you're going out, I believe he's 33 years old. Anytime you're going out to get a 33-year-old wide receiver, you're getting a 33-year-old wide receiver, that's past the playing age. If we're going to be honest. Not many guys on the upper end of 30 do what DeAndre Hopkins has done throughout his career. For 1 year to come in here and just be a guy and be the number 2 and be a reliable set of hands. I mean, it's not like DeAndre Hopkins is bad. by no means is not bad. And people could say he's at the end of his career. He probably is at the end of his career, but I'm almost positive he had 10 touchdowns last season, somewhere like that. It was a wild amount of touchdowns for the Titans, even with Will Levis, who looks like a complete dumpster fire right now. I wouldn't be too opposed to a DeAndre Hopkins as we sit here. My guys, you ever lift just a little too hard and forget to apply that daily deodorant only to get hit by a truckload of BO later in the day? Well, does that 3-in-1 shampoo ever leave you needing a second shower? Here we go. From the founders of Lumi, Mando Whole Body Deodorant is helping men conquer their odor in a new way. Formulated with mandelic acid, Mando has long-lasting 72-hour odor control that actually stops odor before it starts. And the best part is you can put Mando everywhere. Pits, packages, feet, skin folds, backs of knees, everywhere. To top it off, Mando's cologne quality scents are created with men in mind. And well, I'll give you a pro tip. Try their best-selling scent, Bourbon Leather. It's an absolute game changer. I will tell you that I got the package. My wife immediately goes, I could smell that box from over here. And I won't lie to you. I opened it up. I haven't turned back since. I only use Mando from here on out. Let me tell you about the Mando starter pack. It's the perfect thing for new customers. It comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Luckily, I have a discount code to help you get hooked up on your favorite smelling body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Just use the code ALLSteelers at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. It's time to smell better naked. Your partner will thank you. I'll get to the cons. First, I want to know if you pulled up, do we have 10 touchdowns?
7 touchdowns, but over 1,000 receiving yards last year.
See, that's not bad. That's a good stat line. And that's what the Steelers are looking for in a wide receiver too. Just give me 1,000 yards and a couple touchdowns. That's all you need. Compliment George Pickens. Be the guy that could come in here and be a number 2. Maybe DeAndre Hopkins could be the number 2, and he's a veteran, so he'll help with George Pickens. He'll help with Roman Wilson. He'll help with Calvin Austin. My only issue is he's got a personality. I don't know what that personality exactly is, which is a massive question. Is it a great personality? Is it I kind of forced myself out of both Arizona and Houston personality? I don't know what side of the coin you're going to get. If you're going to get the negative coin, you're going to take a risk, and it's going to be a massive risk because George Pickens is already a risk. Personality wise, is, he's teetering the edge at all times. He's a dude where you're constantly kind of nervous of what's going to come out of his mouth or go on his social media or so on and so forth. You don't want another one there. But if he's a proven vet who's there, who's coming in here to be a professional, another Patrick Peterson like they had a corner last year to be a wide receiver too. Look, at the bar can't be high because right now the bar is on the floor. The Steelers don't have, the bar hasn't even been risen or picked up at all. There is no bar to even talk about because right now the Steelers bar is Calvin Austin. And that's great. I hope it works out for him. I hope it continues to work out for him. But that's not the bar the Steelers were looking for. Van Jefferson isn't it. Would you go with DeAndre Hopkins? Do you think he's washed?
I don't think he's washed. I mean, the guy had 1,000 yards, as you mentioned, with that offense last year in Tennessee, which was not good. And this year, I mean, he's coming off of a game where he had 6 catches on 7 targets, 70-some yards. This is a guy that's always going to be, to some extent, a good receiver in the NHL or NFL. Sorry, I'm going back and forth between leagues today. But at the same time, again, the biggest thing you mentioned is where's the floor right now and where's the ceiling? DeAndre Hopkins, by just happenstance of being himself, raises the ceiling for the Steelers wide receiver room because he brings in somebody else who can get open. And there are times, we've seen it in week 1, we saw it in week 2, Van Jefferson struggles to get open. Sometimes Calvin Austin struggles to get open. DeAndre Hopkins is good at getting himself open, and that's what the Steelers need. And for 1 year, you have the salary cap space right now, right? I mean, it's easy to make work. What is the harm in bringing it in? Because he can't use it by not using it. Like, it doesn't help you by not using it. So if you're going to bring in Hopkins at $18 million for 1 year, why not?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, my thing is where we stand currently. I'm only a 1-year guy for the Steelers in a wide receiver trade. So just go get a rental. Go get a rental that you could have this season that you could go and try to win a Super Bowl with. And then you move on next season and you figure it out again. Don't lock yourself down. Don't put yourself in a situation where you don't know where your salary cap situation is going to be in a year, especially with the wide receiver. The Steelers saved themselves. If we're going to be 100% honest, the Steelers saved themselves by not getting Brandon Ayuk, because they would have paid him $28, $29 million a season. And next year, when they're trying to pay Justin Fields or whoever it is that kind of money, they're not going to have it because they got to go sign TJ Watt and they got to go figure out Minka Fitzpatrick in a year and George Pickens in a year and what's going on with their offensive line. There's questions, and I think they avoided a massive moment with Brandon Ayuk, and I don't think you do that with a 1-year contract. I agree. DeAndre Hopkins is still a dude in my eyes. He's going to remain a dude, and I think come week 8, like, he doesn't want to finish his career on a bad team. Nobody wants to finish their career on a bad team. You want to leave, get out of there, go to Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin would love to have a DeAndre Hopkins. Would love to have a DeAndre Hopkins on his roster. He's my pick out of these two. Christian Kirk, I mean, unless you feel differently, that doesn't make it makes almost 0 sense for me to go get Christian Kirk if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm not as low on the player Christian Kirk as you,
Yeah.
But for the salary cap hit, I'm not taking that swing on Christian Kirk. I mean, they overpaid for him because they simply wanted to have somebody.
Yeah.
For Trevor Lawrence. Now, they did have somebody, 1,000 yards the first season, 700 last year, despite only missing 5 games. So they've gotten somebody out of Christian Kirk, but I'm not paying that type of money if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers to bring in a guy for the next 2 years.
No, that's and don't get me wrong. Like, I think Christian Kirk is a good number 2, but he's not worth $27 million and no out. That's just not where I stand currently. And unfortunately, the Jaguars did have a guy. His name was Calvin Ridley. They let him go to Tennessee, which makes it easier to get rid of DeAndre Hopkins. And maybe that's where the Pittsburgh Steelers stand. I don't know. I think it's a conversation to continue, but those are 2 interesting names. DeAndre Hopkins is going to get brought up a lot. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a name that we mentioned quite a few times because others are mentioning him throughout the media realm, talking about him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That'll heat up. That's going to be a name that, the Denver Broncos might not lose enough by week 8. The Jaguars will probably lose enough. The Tennessee Titans are guaranteed to lose enough that by week 8, not only will Mason Rudolph most likely be the starting quarterback over there, but they'll be jumping ship and everybody and their mother will be on the trade pin because they'll be trying to look to see what they can do next year to avoid the situation they are currently in. It's football season, and we've teamed up with DraftKings. Right now, you can get involved in even more action with DraftKings Pick6, a brand new way to play daily fantasy sports. And the best part, all new customers who play $5 will get $50 in Pick6 credits. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Pick6 app now. Sign up with our code ALLSTEELERS and get kicking. Only on DraftKings Pick6, the crown is yours. Getting started is simple. Just download the DraftKings Pick6 app and sign up with our code ALLSTEELERS. From there, just pick at least 2 players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. Lock them in and compete against others for a shot at a huge cash prize. Download the DraftKings Pick6 app now and sign up with our code ALLSTEELERS only on DraftKings Pick6. The crown is yours.